Yeah.
I died too.
Hi, Kevin.
You died what?
2 skirts. This one and a blue
Hi,
green.
Kevin.
Oh, no kidding. Died 2 skirts. I thought you said I died 2 squirrels.
So did I.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he is. Is he still here?
Yeah, he stayed for like the whole entire week.
Wow. Grandpa from long away from far away is here. Anybody else do anything interesting? Nope. Okay. Well, I did look over your cards that I asked you to do a couple weeks back, and I'm going to get to those, but I'm going to remind you what question I asked you. You don't have to write this down again. On my way here, she was driving and I was reading them, and I picked out some of my favorites. And you guys have interesting minds. I'll give you that. Okay, I don't know if I could find them, that'd be nice. No, those are extras. Oh, let's see. Oh, wait a minute. That's not them, it's the other ones. That is weird. I come here, my cord for my projector is miraculously missing, so I had to make that happen. And now my cards are, oh, there they are, thank God, right there. So you remember this question, you are mayor of that town, what would you do? And those are your basic questions. And I went over the 3x5 cards I got back, and I'm going to read a few of them back to you because it's just going to be fun. Okay, I'm not going to say who wrote these. In fact, I don't care to say who wrote these. I'm just going to read them off. So, one thing I found in common, which was very nice, was the word help, or I would help, or the phrase I would help, or I would do this or that, or I would help adopt a person or that. It was very nice to see. You guys have good hearts. But, okay, so here's the first card. I would make sure Charlie has a wheelchair and help him get prosthetics. Help Helga find cheap, affordable roofer who she can rely on. Help Bob to find what he likes to do so he would enjoy to work instead of video games. Help Sally's children find safety in a home with nice foster parents. There's one of them. Build a shelter where everyone can come together and use what abilities they'd have. Put the kids in a better home. Leave the dude who doesn't want to work on his own activities until he realizes he needs money for food. Start fundraisers till there's enough to get robotic legs for Charlie. Ooh, I want robotic legs. And a roof for the elderly widow. Send workers to check if Bob's kids are getting enough food. Make sure Bob gets a job to provide. If he refuses, take his kids away and find a good foster family for them. And 4, find a good foster family for the 2 kids. Make all men who can work. Put people who need help, kids too, into a caring facility, period. I think that was not the shortest one, but pretty close. Refer them to the church and make sure they get the assistance they need. And refer them to humanitarian organizations. Wow. Okay. I would set up a funding program for Charlie and Helga and put Bob's kids and Sally's kids in foster care, and I would genocide the raccoons. I would set up a funding program for Charlie and Helga and put Bob's kids and Sally's kids in foster care, and I will genocide the raccoons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I caught you, didn't it? I was like, yeah, that's why I like that one. Neighbor Charlie lost both legs. Let's give him basic supplies and disability check of $1,300 to $1,600 a month. Widow Helga no longer has a husband. Send in a roofing company and for the roofs needing to be repaired. I would send Helga to a retirement home and move the orphan children and Charlie into a newly emptied house. I will find someone to take care of them for a few years. Bob can suck it up and work from home. Bob's oldest child can take care of the younger ones. Ooh. And probably my favorite and kind of telling, chipmunks are illegal. That's the whole thing. Okay, how many more I got? Okay, Helga, have the community come together and build the new roof. Bob, make him get a job or jail. I would make sure his kids got taken care of. Sally's kids, I would see if there was a father in the picture. If not, I would have them go to a foster family or see if a family could take them. Put up a bulletin in multiple places to see if anyone's willing to put a roof on for the widow. Go help the neighbor myself. Take Bob's kids away from him legally until he can take good care of them. Adopt Sally's kids. Wow, that's a big heart right there. I would help him build a top for his house and get a wheelchair for him. I would find the expensive for the roof and see if she could cover it, and if not, I would help out. If he did not provide for his family and is still not, I would take his kids away from him. I would find their mother and take the kids into foster care. So that's roughly 3/4 of them. But like I said, the main thing I saw was you guys wanting to help and engage yourselves if you were mayor of that town, which I found very touching and nice. So, interesting. Now, if you illegalize all the squirrels, that means you can kill them and eat them at will. So if everyone's starving, that's kind of a solution, if there's squirrels in that area of the world. So, all right. This is going to be a very interesting telling class because I've been reading about Russia for the last 2 months, everything I can get my hands on. And I've got something I'm going to mention from one of the books I was lent. But what's your notes say? What's the last thing in your notes? Can someone tell me that? Sometimes I need to keep track.
But the concept of justice is appealing to the hungry.
Okay. All right. That's good. So we have this guy's name in our notes. You can write it again if you want. But thought I might tell you, and I only found this out from reading this book that I'm reading that's right here, that the election of 1918 that got Lenin into power, only 23% of the people voted for this guy. And you need to get that in your notes because I did not realize that. They deified this guy to this day. He's still breathing gas in a chamber. And only 23% of the people voted for him in 1918. The election. I mean, it could have been rigged, but I don't know. If you're going to rig an election, you'd think you'd make it more in your favor. I found that pretty interesting, and I would not have known that if I didn't read this book. I'd never heard of it until a week ago. Amazing, amazing. Yes.
I actually looked up the thing about him breathing and stuff, so it's actually a fake wax statue that they have breathing.
Oh.
So his actual body is on display, but it's not actually breathing at all.
Oh, okay. So can you see the real one and the fake one?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. See? Thanks for telling me that. I would not have known otherwise. That's weird. How do you make wax do that? Yeah. I don't know. So it's funny, all I've read in the history about this guy, you would think he would have had more of the popular votes, but he didn't. It's funny. I read all about history about how everyone deified Lenin back then. Well, not many people actually liked the guy when he was voted for. So how did he get in? How did it happen? And this book has been very useful for that. Anyone reading anything interesting in here? Anyone reading any book, magazine in here at all? What's you reading? Huh. Huh.
I'm reading Brady by Jane Fritz for school.
Huh.
I'm reading Inkheart, it's a trilogy, so I'm trying to find the second book.
Oh, lost it?
The library now.
Yeah. Oh, someone's taking it out.
548 page, 58 page.
Congratulations. If you finished that, it's a feat.
I finished it already.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm reading a book called Akhenaten and a book about the Federalist Papers.
Ah, interesting. I wonder where you got those books from. Ah. Anyone else read anything weird and funny?
I'm reading a book called Isaiah.
So how did Lenin get in power? Here it is. You're pretty much dead on. So you get 23% of the vote, and the rest of the vote is fractured between all these other people running for president and having different ideas. Well, you do have a semi-majority if you have a ton of people running. Well, not many people liked his radical ideas, but in the end, he took power because of his personality. He had a very magnetic personality. Fear, hunger, and henchmen. When you have a ton of people running for the same office, like say you got the presidency's coming up and you got 10 people running for the presidency. We in this country, we have to whittle them down to 2. But some countries didn't get that back then. So you have all these people running. He actually had the majority for all the people that were running against him. I do not know how many people were running against him, which I found that interesting. But here in America, we whittle it down to 2 candidates for president, eventually. It's a whole process. Who's your favorite henchman? You know, the evil guy's got the evil henchmen, the idiots that do all his work. You got a favorite evil henchman?
Dr. Einstein and arsenic
Yeah.
I can never remember the name, but I think he's called Blinkley and Lilo and Stitch.
Plinkly and Lilo and Stitch is that the evil doctor? And he has a
The evil doctor's Jamba.
oh, the big one, the big guy. Yeah, I like him.
Blinkley's the tall.
Tall eyeball.
Yeah.
Yes, got it. You got an evil henchman?
The minions of Despicable Me.
Minions. There you go. I knew that was coming up.
No, Minion from Megamind. The fish.
He's
the best.
He's the best.
What?
Cutman.
Cut man.
Wait,
I don't know if you really count
What's
as
Shredder's
but Inigo Montoya
Forgot.
from Princess Bride.
Inigo Montoya. That's yeah, he's good. I don't know if he's a henchman, but he's certainly a hero, I suppose. Yeah. I don't have a favorite henchman, but I always like them because they always do the dirty work. It's kind of fun, and they're usually a bunch of idiots, at least in the cartoons. Believe it or not, Russia before 1917, people made money, worked, and had property like everybody else. I know it might be hard to believe that people live in houses, work, and have property like everybody else, but yes, they do. Even to this day in Russia, but before 1917, they were just trying to get along like pretty much everybody else. Doing the best they can with the best they can with the hand they're dealt. Now, Russia was, I mean, it's in your notes. How many people died in World War I on the Russian side? Anyone remember the number? Staggering, yes. What? Was it 32 million? I thought it was 1.7 million. That's a big discrepancy. Anyone else know? Maybe it was 32 million in World War I total. I could be wrong.
In Russia, 1.7 million people died, and there were 9.2 million casualties.
That might be a total count. I don't know.
Did you say World War I?
World War I Russian side.
Okay. 30 million.
But because of that war that was going on for a while, people did get hungry. Of course you do. People are poor, starving. Sometimes they have a hard time keeping the lights on or keeping heat in the house. Yet, before Lenin, people had a measure of autonomy. What's autonomy? Yes?
The ability to make your own decisions.
Yeah. You can make at least some of your own decisions. That's always a good thing, right? Having some level of autonomy. 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 I mean, you guys are all a bunch of teenagers. You probably still live in your parents' house. Do you have a lot of autonomy in your house?
Yes.
Yeah, reasonably. I mean, we're in a free country, but then again, you got to listen to your parents. Now, when you get your own apartment someday, you'll have more autonomy because, you'll be grown up and don't have to listen to your parents. I'm not saying don't listen to your parents, listen to your parents. But autonomy is the ability to do stuff as you please. And you know what? The Russians had that, a lot more of that before 1917. Might be hard to believe, but there were neighborhoods like here. There were towns and villages like here. The roads weren't very good. Their cars were sporadic, but, they got along just fine. But the simple fact was, if you haven't gotten it by now, the Russian people were suffering in World War I in all sorts of ways. This is a time, like I said before, it's just before minimum wage. And sometimes you're just glad to have a job, even if you got paid next to nothing. So I was given some cookies last time I was here. Very nice. Put them in my desk. Went back to my desk to plan a lesson. They're all gone. That's what happens in my house. I swear, kids sniff out cookies like it's drugs. And I had 1.5 of those cookies, and it was like a drug. So it's not even like it's almost not their fault, but it is. It is totally their fault. So yes, I got 1.5 really good cookies last week. Thank you so much. I don't know if it was you. I don't think it was her either. I think I know who it was. I don't eat your cookies. So if 23% of the people agree with you, that means a lot don't. So how do you convince the people that somehow my new plan to make all of you happy and feed all of you and give all of you heat, utilities, how am I going to convince you that my system's infinitely better than yours? That you are infinitely better working with me and not staying in your house that you've been in for generations trying to survive? So how would you sell an idea to people and make it irresistible? How do you convince that your way, I don't care what you're trying to convince people, how do you convince your way is better?
Lie.
There is that. And if you're a good liar, it works. You could, I don't know, that'll convince them short term until they run away. Yeah, yes.
Actually show results.
Okay, results, yes.
Win the people's favor.
Aha, okay. So, I don't have my markers out. I heard win the people's favor. How do you get people to enthusiastically go, man, that guy's got a good idea? Show them favor somehow. What do people love to get? Money. What else? I heard dolls. Food, heat, money. Clothes.
Basic resources like you said, promising them like heat and basic resources.
Yep. Protection. That's a good one too. All right, I'm going to show you how Lenin sold it to the people. Lenin's like, I know you can buy and sell and do whatever you want under your current semi-capitalist system. Wait a minute, that's not the right slide. Excuse me. There it is. I got them switched. I was up till 11 planning this last night. All right. What you got to do is make people an offer they can't refuse. It has got to be such a beautiful apple on that simple tree that you just got to take a bite. And human beings are like that. Are they not? I mean, we're all here. We're not in the Garden of Eden anymore. So Lenin goes, here's what we do. This does not happen exactly overnight. It will not. It cannot. Change happens slow. But he has a plan that is going to convince 99% of people that, wow, how can this be a bad system if he's giving us all this? He's giving you stuff at a price. Bam! We're going to give you housing. I know you live in that house and you've been there in your little farm there in that middle of nowhere town for 4 generations. But I'm going to give you housing and you're only going to pay 1/10 of the price. Anybody own a farm in here? I mean, on a farm? How many generations has your farm been in your family? 6. Wow. Wow, that's amazing, actually. Any others? 6 generations. You got a graveyard with just dennerts somewhere? Makes you wonder. There's a lot of dennerts buried in this area of the world. Huh, interesting. So you give them cheap housing. I know you are in that house that you've been in for that long. You're having a hard time keeping it warm because it's cold in Russia. We're also not only going to give you cheap housing, we're going to include with that utilities that are all rolled up in the same package. That means running water to every home. That's huge, people, because not every home in Russia, not every home in the world has running water. We are going to give you heat. That's also utilities. Trash disposal. That's also utilities. Sewage disposal. That's also utilities. We're going to roll all of this into a nice big package, and we're going to put a beautiful bow on it because we can't afford any nice wrapping paper. We're going to give you childcare. Cheap. And you can drop your kid off at school when he's 4 years old. Someone will take care of him. Ooh. Lenin says all of this is going to be mainly at the cost of the government. You only have to pay a very small amount of money to take advantage of these things. So instead of, say you got a farm with 1,000 acres, that's amazing, so many acres, and it costs you $10,000 a month to keep that place up. Say it again.
Can you move the stand?
Oh, this. Okay. So it costs you $10,000 to keep your farm up and everything that requires. But you can move into our apartment for $1,000 a month. Wow. If you're living in some apartment in the middle of nowhere that somebody else owns and not the government, and you're paying $900 a month to live there, you can move into our government housing for $90 a month. And you can have all these utilities. You have an apartment. You have a door that locks. You have a toilet. You have a tub. Not everybody has those. All mainly at the cost of the government, and you pay very little. So you have the choice to make. This is kind of shabby looking, but you can suffer in your own house, having a hard time like you've always had, or you can buy into Lenin's program and live cheap on us. Man, that's a lot. I could do so much with my money if I just move into the government housing. This isn't just housing. This is apartment complexes, big ones. You can live in an apartment complex in a little apartment way up on the 5th floor, have everything you need at the 10th of the cost of normal. Wow, socialism must work if they can just do this for us. Wow. And who does that appeal to mainly? How would you like to live in an apartment for $90 a month to this day? 2, 3-bedroom apartment. Think about that. So who does it appeal to? It appeals to the peasants. It appeals to the young. It appeals to the broke. It seems like it's going to be an easier life for you. Wow. And a lot of people take the bait. A lot. And it's hard to blame them. It's a lot that is being given. And how can they afford to give all this stuff to these people? Taxes is part of it, but something also just happened called the Russian Revolution. They took the wealth from the rich people for themselves. They took the bank accounts of all these rich people who now have no heads, put it in a big account, and now they're going to build big, huge high-rises for everyone to live in a cramped, close quarters. That's where they get the money to do this. They stole it from the rich and are giving it to the poor. So noble. But wait. You know, if you move in our 10-story apartment building, if you move in our apartment building and pay us $90 a month to live there, you can still keep that farm with 1,000 acres way off somewhere. It's still yours. You can go back there anytime you want. We're not going to take it from you. It's still going to be over there. How about you just move in and take it easy on us for a change? Wow, that's tempting. That's how it was portrayed to people that had property. You got this little house you've been working on for 10 years of your life that's probably leaning or something. You're trying to keep the heat on. You got a well in front and not water inside. You keep that house there. You go back whenever you want. Come to our apartment buildings and live here cheap so you can work on your house when you get a chance. Sounds great. They're not going to take my property and give me all this stuff. That's amazing. But guess what? Here's the carrot. And they don't tell you this. You move in these big, huge, high-rise apartment buildings. If you die or disappear, where does your land go? To the government. They come in and just take it. So all of these things seem like you're getting something for next to nothing. No, you're paying. You're paying dearly. And people don't realize it at first. Now here's some modern art. You ready? I haven't done art in a while, but I had to do it this way because it helps explain what's going on here. And it has to appear this way exactly in your notes. Ready? I'm like, how can I explain to these ladies and gentlemen what's going on here? Draw a picture. All right. So you're going to have a city called Moscow. We've heard of Moscow. If you go to Moscow today, you will be shocked at how many high-rise buildings are in an extremely packed space. You ever seen pictures of New York City? Packed in a very small place is New York City. Very similar. Not as nice, maybe, but similar. Here is their modern art. This is what's happening in Russia for the next 40, 50 years. So the middle of all the big cities in Russia, we're going to put high-rise apartments, big ones. And there's going to be 50, 100 apartments in each one of them. You can live on the 5th floor, you can live on the 10th floor, but the point is, in the middle of every major city, you're going to see a lot of these high-rises go up. This is your government housing. The goal is to get people that are living in, middle of nowhere Russia over here. Here's you in your middle of nowhere farm. Hey, I hear they got heat over there for $90 a month. I'm going to leave my middle of nowhere and go to the city. I'm going to leave my middle of nowhere and go to the city. Same. Before you know it, everyone's living in extremely packed conditions in middles of cities all throughout Russia in government housing. Huge transfer of population is happening right now. People are moving to cities because it seems to make sense. Wow, that's cheap. I can live like that. And if I ever want to go back to my farm, I can. Wow, this socialism must work. It's appealing. What's your apartment like then, do you think? Well, they're brand new. So what's your apartment like? It's new, but it's small. There are families that have 5 kids in a very small 1 to 2 bedroom apartment on a regular basis at this time in history. We're talking from after the World War I, when they start building them, all the way past World War II, all the way up to 1991 when the Soviet Union fell. These are very small apartments, but they got toilets, they got tubs, and there's even a washing machine in the basement of every one of them. So your wives can line up all day to get to that washing machine that probably will break very soon. But in 1917, when people were hungry, In 1945, when after World War II, when people were destitute and hungry, these were extremely appealing, and they just kept building them. Before you knew it, 80-ish% of the Russian population lived in the very smack middle of cities, densely populated areas. We're talking maybe 50 square acres, and you've got 1 million people. That's like New York City. You know how many people are in New York City right now?
6 million.
Times that by 3-ish. 19 million people in New York City alone right now. Yes. So everyone's leaving the countryside and moving into these government housings. Very appealing. And guess what? You're moving in, you're getting a new-ish apartment. It's got heat blasting, all the heat that you want, and it's minus 30 outside. Man, not so bad. Any questions so far? So like I said, when those rich people that have those, and if you have 1,000 acres in Russia, you're rich people. You move into the government housing, besides getting stuff for cheap, what are you also getting? Your privacy is invaded. I heard privacy, but it's invaded. How? Guess what? You've got henchmen listening on you. There are secret compartments behind each apartment that people can go into, maintenance the pipes. They could also put their ear to the wall and listen to you. So guess what? All of a sudden, people are moving into this. It's great at first. Everything's hunky-dory. All of a sudden, your neighbor, Jimmy, is gone, and his stuff's for sale. I wonder what happened to Jimmy. I think he moved back to his apartment over there, way somewhere else, or moved back to his farm. I'm sure Jimmy's okay. His apartment's up for rent, and his stuff's sold. People disappear. No one says anything about it. Look the other way. We know what's going on, but we're too scared to do anything about it because people are listening to us. And this is what I mean by communism. All right, time to move into Russian government housing. Our lights are failing. Ooh, that hurts.
Oh, there we go.
Huh.
It's not. You're so.
So being a socialist is saying, wow, we believe in taking care of our collective welfare, food, utilities, all that stuff. But the moment people stop believing or using that system, that's when you get the punch, and I call that communism. If people start fading away from this socialist utopia, you need people to stay in it. You keep them in it. So you hire henchmen to give them a little oomph to keep them in the system. That is communism. That's why they go hand in hand all the time.
Did you say Zootopia or Utopia?
Zootopia. No, I know what I've actually seen that. Yeah. No, utopia. In the end, all of your property is communally owned. You wrote this down in your notes before, but I wanted to hit the point home. I mean, being a socialist, having everyone taking care of each other's health care might not seem like a bad thing. Utilities might not seem like a bad thing. Helping everyone not starve might not seem like a bad thing. But the minute one person in that system doesn't do their job, you got to get someone to come in and make sure they do it. That's why communism comes in. There's where your henchmen come in. And that's how Lenin did it. He had good people helping him in low places. Oh boy, that's terrible. Oh my gosh. If my bag gets warm in the least, it bleeds. So by about 1990, 80-ish% of the Russian population is living in closed, packed cities. Packed. Closed, packed cities. You don't need a car if you're living in a city. Everything's right there. You got a bike or you walk. If you do have a car, you're considered rich. Everything's right there in a nice packed area, and you're also being listened to. And if you don't like this system, it'll just make you disappear. What would make you not like the system after giving all that stuff? You've been given an apartment with all its utilities for a tenth of the cost of living anywhere else. Why would you revolt or get angry at a system like that? There's reasons. Because what ends up happening is you'll get a knock on your door. Knock, knock, knock. Come with me. Of course, you're going to go with them because you don't have a gun or anything. You go with them. They put you in a seat and they said, your sister Sarah has been spreading the gospel openly. If she does it again, we're going to take your family. So you got to fix the problem, not us. That's just one little example. Leverage, fear. That's what henchmen can do to people. So you are in these apartments enjoying the cheap lifestyle, but you're paying in other ways. They do not want Christianity in Russia at this point anymore. That's a big no-no back then. If you're going to be a Christian, you do it in your house in quiet, and I'm talking quiet, and you hide your Bible afterwards. Can you imagine that? That's how they lived, because they were that afraid of sharing the gospel with anyone because people disappeared. It's funny. Under communism, totalitarian governments, Christianity seems to be the biggest threat. I wonder why. Maybe because being a Christian leads to boldness, leads to being without fear. And if you don't have fear, the communist system cannot work. I'd like to think if I had my own property, my own little house in a system like that, that I would keep it no matter what and not move into these cheap government housing buildings. Do you think you could do that? In this time in Russia, we're talking anywhere from 1920 to 1990. I've been taking care of my granddad's farm my whole life. I don't want to leave. I don't care what they try to offer me. I'm going to stay here. Can you do that? Absolutely you can. But there are some that resisted, and those are the people I'm talking about. I'm going to stay at my farm. I don't want to go over there. It smells like danger, and it was. And there are some people that stayed in their towns, stayed in their farms, and they did not leave. And I only know this because of this book that I was lent. And here's a story of Alex and Olga. When I listened to Alex, I learned that he had a special interest in the history of his town, Peroslavl. This area of interest had to do with the churches of the city. He brought out a large picture of Peroslavl and began to point out at one time this community of 60,000 people had over 27 churches. He was able to help identify each church on the map by name to pinpoint its location. He said that during the communist era, all of the churches, with the exception of only one, had been destroyed, and that one remaining church had been tightly controlled by the government. This old man had lived in this community all his life and had great pride in the appreciation for its past. It hurt him deeply when he thought about the decay and destruction that occurred in this community during the past 70 years. We're talking about 1994. This was written. This is right after the fall of the Soviet Union. I asked him, what do you consider to be some of the things that you're especially concerned about when you think about the city of Peroslavl today? The destruction of all the churches is something I will never forget. The homes of most of the people have been destroyed. At one time, all of us lived in our homes, planted our gardens, and enjoyed a good life. Now people have moved into these high-rise flats, apartment buildings, and have no pride of ownership and do not keep them up and have lost personal responsibility. He proceeded, we used to have many smaller communities immediately around Peroslava where young men would prize their property, work hard, and be highly responsible. Sorrowfully, he said, all of this has been lost because it was far cheaper to live in flats provided by the government. Since Alex and his wife chose to keep their home, they were responsible for all maintenance, upkeep, heat, water, electricity. They were also responsible for the disposal of all their sewage. Many people found it much better to wait for government housing to open up and move into it when the opportunity presented itself. As I looked around their home, I found they had a vegetable cellar underneath their home. In this space, they stored all of their vegetables and other canned goods. They told me their entire backyard consisted of a garden space that they kept up to provide a majority of their food sufficient for their livelihood. In most ways, they were very self-sufficient. After Olga finished serving us beverages and baked goods, I began to ask her a few questions. Olga had been a nurse and had some very interesting things to share. She said, "My father was a lay priest in the church when I was a little girl. There were 9 children in our family, and we were all taught very early in our lives to work hard and be responsible for ourselves. Because my father was known as a priest in the community, one day he was taken away and put into a slave labor camp. When he was taken away, the authorities came to our home and took away all of our possessions of value, including all of our tables, chairs, and bedroom furniture. Our family was left on the street with our father gone and no possessions." This is how much of a threat for Christianity was to a communist system. "We worked very hard to try to survive without a father in the household. After some time, my father had tried to persuade his captors to release him because he needed to provide for his large family. He promised he would reject all of his religious beliefs in exchange for the return to his family. One day, much to our surprise, my father miraculously returned home. He then worked as a carpenter and began once more to provide for our family. My father told us he would be having nothing more to do with the church, and the other family members were to stay away as well." That's fear, people. "After my father returned, we did not participate in any type of religious worship, but we all seemed to say our prayers to ourselves at night. We worked very hard to be contributing members of the family. This pattern continued until we had grown up and began to make our lives for ourselves. One day, he called the family together and informed us that since his family was now raised, he was going to return to being a priest. He wanted all of us children to totally reject him for his actions so that he would not cause us harm. By this time, he had grown to be rather old, and even though he returned to work in the church, he was never taken away again. Asking his kids to totally reject what he was about to do to serve God in a church because he was afraid the government was going to take away his kids and torture them because of his actions." True story. So you were allowed to have your home, but you're going to live out there primarily by yourself, and you're going to have a lot of things that you have to take care of by yourself. If you're an incredibly Superman, self-sufficient, incredible person, you might be able to do it. And what's funny, not one paragraph later, the people in the countryside were jealous of Alex and Olga because they were the rich people. Yeah, no kidding. No, I can't even read that no more. So living cheap was incredibly appealing. That's the point. And if you wanted to live back on your own, you got to even pay for your sewage cleanup. Can you imagine? Just the pipes going to your house. But living cheap came at a price. Your loyalty and your family. In other words, the system won't work unless it has your loyalty and your family by fear. Your religion by fear. When this guy visited Russia in 1994, the people there were still worshiping God behind closed windows, behind closed shutters. They would hide their Bible when they're done. They would have nothing hanging on the wall, especially when someone knocked at the door. So, to keep this system working, you're going to have your henchmen. Enter the KGB. Here we go. You got to keep the system together somehow if it's on its way out. If you're at the top of a socialist system, you kind of want to stay up there because life's a little easier for you up there. Highly less likely you'll get your kids taken away or door kicked down if you're the head honcho in a town. Get it? The people living at the top are really the ones that are doing the best. And the KGB, if you haven't figured it out, it is a secret police. It's called the Committee for State Security, and we're going to talk about the KGB. We have the FBI. They got the KGB. KGB is more like FBI, CIA rolled up into one. It's hard to explain. They do a little bit of everything. Mentioned in that story, it just occurred to me what they were talking about. The old man, Alex, that was telling the story, said people moved into these high rises and they lost personal responsibility. And you go about that by living in an apartment you don't have to do anything to. The government takes care of it, right? You don't even have a lawn to mow. You don't have to take care of your apartment. Someone else does. So where does all your extra money go? If you have any extra money, what are you going to do with it? Most people get drunk, smoke, do all sorts of other things they shouldn't be doing. It was changing the culture. You weren't free to worship in the open, but you're free to be drunk in the open. In fact, people didn't mind if you were drunk in the open, especially in Russia. Nowadays, it's a little different. And like I said, fear is a powerful tool for compliance. What would make you want to break away from a system that gives you cheap rent, cheap utilities, and you get to live in an apartment the rest of your life for next to nothing? Yeah, threats to safety. But how do you get those threats to your safety? By your relatives doing stuff they shouldn't. But what if one day you were too sick to go to work and they needed you at work? Guess what? You're going to work and you're going to bring that puke bucket right next to you the whole time. What if you just said, I don't want to do this job anymore, I'm out of here? Guess what? You have no choice. You will return to your job because they're going to threaten someone you love if you don't. It's called leverage. In the end, you don't have very much autonomy. Yeah, you can go out and get a bottle of vodka. You can go smoke or take a walk. But if you don't do your job, you want to leave, you want to break out in any way, you cannot do that in this system. That's when the communists, the KGB, come in and make sure you do what you're supposed to. Mr. Grant doesn't want to be a teacher anymore. Oh, really? Knock, knock, knock. Hey, Mr. Grant, KGB, we got to talk to you about your job. We hear you don't want to be a teacher anymore. I'm like, yeah, that's right, I'm out of here. Okay, you can do that, but I know where your brother lives. And I've heard he's got a Bible in his house. So yeah, go to work Monday morning. It's called leverage. Fear. Here's an example. A new manager at a plant. Oh man, he's excited he's the new manager at a plant. I am brand new manager at this plant in the Soviet Union, during the Cold War. The new manager gets a knock on the door with a harassment from his overlords, the KGB really. You didn't make your quota of rubber duckies. We have to export these rubber duckies to America for all the weirdos that buy them. You did not make your quota of rubber duckies. If you do not make your quota next month, you will get sent to a slave camp in Siberia. So the brand new manager, what's he going to do? He's going to make sure he gets those rubber duckies out, doing anything he could possibly do to do it. It's called fear. And he uses that as an excuse for his actions to put pressure on other people. Hey, I heard Inspector 15, who puts his 15 stamp on the butt of each ducky, I heard he hasn't been in for a week. Let's pay him a little visit. Inspector 15, where's all your rubber duckies? Oh, I could just keep going. See what I mean? We have an unusual amount of rubber duckies in my house when I think about it. Yes, we do. When I pull a book off my bookshelf and I see a rubber ducky looking at me that big, and I look around, there's another one looking at me, another one looking at me, another one looking at me, and then there's some in the tub. I don't know what's happening, but that's where I got the idea. Yeah. No, it's serious. It's a serious thing. So your local mayor is scared to death. KGB gives him a knock. There are 3 Christians openly sharing the gospel in your town right now, the KGB says, right to the mayor. Let's give the mayor a little motivation to make that stop happening. Make these people disappear, or your family will disappear. What do you think the mayor is going to do? He's going to use his imagination. Chances are. But all of this is a fear from the top down. Reading the gospel, becoming a real Christian, takes away your fear and makes you bold. And that's why they hate it. All across the world, not just at this time in Russia. Yes. Proselytizing. Sharing the gospel. One word for saying, meaning sharing your religion in public. Yes. Proselytizing. It's a weird word, fun word. Almost done. You are a school superintendent and get a knock on the door. Here we go. Miss Dara gets a knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. If your school does not raise a full letter grade, you will off your brother. Ugh. Your brother, we found a Bible in his house. Your brother happens to be Inspector 15 of the rubber ducky plant. I just came up with that. So everyone, by consequence, is going to fear your manager, fear your superintendent, fear anyone that's in charge of you, and guess what? You're going to be looking to your left and your right and going, who can I trust? If everyone's telling on me. And guess what? It happened. And this happened in Nazi Germany. We talked about this probably a year ago. In Nazi Germany, you get a knock on the door. Hey, I got a lot of money in this bag here. If you tell me where the nearest Jew is in hiding, you'll get this bag of money. Same stuff. Fear, money, power. And guess what they also didn't like in Nazi Germany? Openly sharing the gospel. People did it, but there was consequences. Like I said, the KGB is going to reward your neighbors to turn you in. And hey, there are neighbors, and if you do not believe they exist, they do. They might not even know any KGB agents, but they hear a nice little piece of information through the wall and go, if I tell KGB agent so-and-so about this, he might give me favor and let my brother come back from the gulag in Siberia, who is currently in slave labor. Think about that. Obtaining favors to get your loved ones back. Money. Favoritism. So before you know it, you look around, you can trust nobody. Everyone's downcast. No one can trust anybody. And the only thing you can do when people seem to not care about is get drunk. Sad, but it's true. Alcoholism was a huge problem in Russia. It still is, and it is here, honestly, in some ways too. Fear takes the fight out of everyone. But compliance becomes normal, silence becomes normal, and a demoralized people pray indoors with their windows shut, if they pray at all. That's communism. Socialism will take care of everybody, will take care of everybody else. But the minute you try to sidestep, we need the communists to come in and stop you. That's how they're related. Socialism is the hunky-dory feeling of everyone's taken care of. Communism is the punch behind it if people don't do what they're told. And guess who was a communist and a KGB agent? He's actually quite a patriot. We're going to talk about him next time. The current leader of Russia was a colonel in the KGB. No joke, and we'll go into him next time. Any questions? I know that's a lot, but I hit you with a lot. So next time you're in, yes, questions?
So, from a little bit earlier, 80% of the population in the cities, 20% are still working the land. How does that work logistically? You're gonna starve.
You have to be extremely resourceful. Extremely. Like I said, they're out there. People had their own properties, but you're going to pay, and you're going to pay dearly. I mean, Russia's massive, people. You can live in the middle of, you could just start walking and you'll never stop, and you'll still be in Russia. So next time you're here, you have a paper due. You can either turn it in when you're here next or midnight that night. If you want to put it off till the absolute last minute, you can email it to me the midnight that night too. Because I know you all will wait till last freaking minute. And if you're all interested, I wrote a short story that's true on the back table about my cannon and how it was found. And you can have it.
So everybody, next week is our last week, so remember to bring your name tags back, because otherwise I'm gonna have to charge you $1.50, so bring your name tags. These are not cheap. And your folders you will be able to take home with you. Are you done?
I am done.
Okay. You guys have like 2-3 minutes while we get the next class lined up, so thank you.
Have a good day. You're welcome.
Mr. Grant, so I don't have a phone, but I still want to watch the YouTube channel. So what's it called? So I can just
Here, I'll write it down for you.
Thanks. Because I might miss some classes or something, and so.